Welcome back to another episode of Life Along the Streetcar, where we focus on the things happening in the urban core, which we define from A Mountain to the University of Arizona. And we cover social, cultural, economic, all these things that are impacting the urban core or radiating out from the urban core. And we do that by talking to the people that are in the know, making the things happen. And today is a perfect example of that because we have, I think, those of you listening will recognize this as restaurant royalty here in the studio. We've got the chef, Gary Hickey. Chef, welcome in.
Thanks, Tom. Thanks for having me.
This is exciting.
Thanks, man.
It's hard to find people talking about restaurants that don't, somehow your name doesn't pop up. You've been doing this for
32 years.
32 years. So you're just figuring
started out.
just
getting my feet wet.
Just figuring it out. 32 years ago, how'd you get involved? Was this your future or was it just an accident?
No, it was a happy accident. I was actually an at-risk youth. So I was a homeless teenager.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and I was actually the very first year of Youth on Their Own. I was in the very inductee class of Youth on Their Own.
Wow.
Some friends of mine that I had to drop out of high school. Obviously, I was living in a wash over on River, and some friends of mine, they reached out to us. My football coach reached out to them and was like, hey, this program's working. I don't know if you guys can get in touch with Gary, but maybe you can get him back into school and get him a job. So I was in the first class of Youth on Their Own. Went back to school. Ended up sleeping on my buddy's couch. Got a job. I don't know how long you been in Tucson.
I moved here in 93.
93. So it was still there. There's this little Greek restaurant on 6th, right across from the stadium called Marathon.
Oh, yeah.
So made friends with that family. They paid me under the table. I got all the hummus and gyro I could take home, and they paid me like $50 a day. Started dishwashing there and doing prep work. And then actually, when I turned 16, I got a job at Mongeli's and worked at Mongeli's.
I don't know that one.
It's where Scott and Co. is.
Okay.
Right there on Scott. It was a little deli sandwich shop. Great family, just amazing. And then from there, some friends of mine were working at Keaton's in the Foothills, and that was like my real first restaurant job.
Gotcha.
And I just loved it. It was chaos and fire and people yelling, and those were the 90s, so it was a little crazy back then. And I fell in love with it. I started as a prep cook, and then ended up working there up until I became kitchen manager, and then that's where I met Sam, and I worked for Sam for years, off and on. And then
Sam Fox with the
Sam Fox,
with the concepts, yeah.
And then him and Bob became partners, and we opened up Metropolitan Grill.
Yep.
And
that's where I think I first came into familiar with your name was there.
Okay, yeah. And I mean that restaurant just cranked numbers. Yeah. I mean, Tucson had never seen anything. That was just a powerhouse of a restaurant, and we had 24-hour prep crews, and everything was from scratch, and it was an amazing.
And you were running that?
Yeah. So there's 4 kitchen managers at that point. The celebrity chef thing hadn't really hit the market.
You're still working.
You were still working, right? There wasn't a chef moniker. There was Janos, obviously, right, and Chef Carlotta, but we weren't we didn't think we were chefs. It wasn't a thing then. I think Bobby Flay was still on QVC the morning before Food Network or Ready Set Cook.
What time frame was this?
93 to 2000-ish.
Okay. Yeah,
I was off and on I was with Sam, and then when they merged, I stayed on with Bob. Went back. They bought Keaton's again, and turned that into Old Pueblo Grill North, and I was with them throughout that whole process, and then I had the opportunity to go travel, and got a job with P.F. Chang's. They moved me up to Phoenix, and they called us sous chefs, so I was sous chef for P.F. Chang's, and then quickly moved up from there into a culinary partner. I was their youngest culinary partner by 24.
What is it?
So they kind of give ownership to the general manager and the executive chef. So you buy in with a certain amount of money. You get a percentage of the bottom line. It makes you more responsible. It's the Texas Roadhouse model. Actually, it's the Fleming's model. Paul Fleming invented it, but a lot of successful restaurants do it. It gives the ownership to the people that are actually working it. It makes them successful, Yeah. So My store ended up becoming a training store. So any managers that came through the company came through my store, and I was on Millen University in Tempe. And then my team was the training team. So we would fly out and go open restaurants and stuff. So I learned a lot, learned so much about business acumen and, just the fundamentals of running and opening a restaurant. So I started with them. I think there was like 28 restaurants or whatever, and there was like 107 when I left.
I was going to say, that surprises me that there was only that many at the time. They just seem like that. They're just, every major city seems to have one.
Yep, they do. And then Cheesecake would follow right behind them.
They see it worked. Okay, P.F. Chang's is successful.
Exactly.
Let's plug one in.
100%.
They're the canary,
100%.
the canary in the coal mine.
Yep.
So this is interesting to me because this one of the things that I was going to touch on, and I think you've already talked about it, was that there are a lot of chefs in this town. Well, I don't want to say a lot, but there are chefs in this town that have tremendous skills, but you seem to really sort of transcend that. Also have the business side of things really figured out, and that's where it probably came from. Then was
100%. I mean, they teach you the full. They make sure that it's an investment in their restaurant and their brand. They want to make sure that you were involved in everything. I mean, we'd go to a corporate office and there's 3 in the valley at that time. So all the culinary partners would come in and we're in a meeting with like Paul Fleming and we're trying to figure out what the to-go cups are going to look like. Like why do the chefs have to be involved in that? But it was great because you learn marketing and you learn all that great stuff. So.
Every chef I've talked to can tell me to the finite degree what the food cost is on something, what the labor cost is. But then you ask them about marketing, and they sometimes just sort of stop like marketing.
What do you mean?
What do you mean? So we just put out a good plate.
Exactly.
So that is fantastic. So you've been involved more recently with Carlotta the Flores family. Like how did that come to be?
So my mother actually got sick in 2006. So I ended up moving back to Tucson, and kind of took a step back and was like, I can't. I got to spend time with the family, and I got to make sure that my mom's okay. So. Kind of stepped out of the kitchen and just went back to work for Sam, just being a server bartender.
Wow.
So just complete
disconnect. And not disconnect, but just kind of really changed your focus.
Yeah, really kind of. And I really, like, that's kind of, I feel like where I'm at now gives me a little bit of an edge. I got to see that hospitality. I mean, I knew a lot about it, but in the time frame that Sam had obviously moved up to Phoenix and made his bazillions of dollars yet. Well, he hadn't signed the deal yet, but he created this humongously successful like hospitality program, and everything about it was just amazing, right? And it echoed everything that we did at P.F. Chang's, and I just fell in love with it. And then I started making these connections with the guests that came into the restaurant, and and then the next thing they're coming to my wedding, and there's these people that are involved in my life, and they, and I never have that in the kitchen, right? You don't really get that, and the only time you really talk to a guest is like, oh, I'm sorry, your steak's overcooked. Let me get another one. Can I bring you a salad while you wait?
Do you want to come to my wedding?
right, exactly. So, and I love that. I love that for a lot of it, and then. That was at North, and then I went on to Montana Avenue, and I was at Montana Avenue for a while. And then they changed brands, and it was Zen Burger, and it just really wasn't what I was looking for as far as the food, and I don't know, it wasn't a fit. Right. So I had an opportunity to go back and work with Bob McMahon. They were looking for a bar manager, bartender, whatever. Someone to just kind of come in and oversee the bar. So started working with him in that company again. And then Ray and Bob shared office space. So their corporate offices were together. So was
that over like in Swan or Fort Lauderdale?
Fort Lauderdale, yeah, okay. Right, connected to the restaurant. So the corporate offices were back there. It made complete sense, share the rent, share the HR department, share AP, all that stuff. One day the general manager gets fired, whatever happens. I'm all of a sudden the general manager, and then the chef gets fired, and all of them all of a sudden the chef and the general manager. So I'm kind of in that front and back role. Had some people under me, worked really great. And I worked there for a while, and we had money in the bank, and I thought we were doing really well. And I had an opportunity to go work with Brian Metzger and open up Poppy Kitchen and Jackson's, which are obviously no longer there. But my girlfriend at the time, but my wife now, Amber, still worked at McMahon's, and she called me just in a panic. They're locking the doors and they're taking the paintings off the walls. And I'm like, okay, relax. Take all the money out of the cash register, put it in your purse, and just leave. So they finally came in and collected what Bob owed on taxes. And, it was a sad day. I mean, I love that restaurant. And we had a lot of really good times in that restaurant. And I was there when we first opened it in late 90s, and then it came back full circle. So, it's sad that happened, and I'm sad for Bob, but there's a lot of good wine that went to auction that and there's, God, so much wine. So, and then, so Ray, I'd see Ray in the corporate office, I'd see Carlotta in the hallways and stuff, always cordial, whatever. Ray would always ask me like, we have this going on. What do you think of this? And he always jokes around that it was like the 5-year interview, So I was at Poppy, and obviously that didn't work out. And, Ray was very upfront. He's like, I don't really have a role for you. I don't, we don't, I have my mom, and we have this kind, and I didn't know about the commissary and to what lengths they were embedded into the community, and how just amazing they are as a family. But, I got to know them, and I waited on Sasha and the kids. They would come into McMahon's and eat, and, he's like, well, I can offer you come in and work at Cervezas. It's not really culinarily groundbreaking, but, just a start, and then we can kind of see what goes from there. So there was never really a plan for this or, us opening a restaurant every year for the past 10 years.
That was because at that point they were primarily Cerveza in the Charro Cafe.
That was it.
Yeah, and then they didn't have the wholesale and any of that at that point.
Right.
So then you get on board, and at some point they decide they're going to expand. And what was that first launch?
So the first launch was Charro Steak, and it was it was crazy because I came from P.F. Chang's, where we had general contractors, and you came in, you're not allowed in here until this day, and you can't touch this until this day, and you can't cook food until you get your C of O, and all that's great for a publicly held company, but we were in there hanging ceiling fans and stripping the floor and painting, and everything you see in Charro Steak was a family affair. We were in there every day.
First location downtown?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
We joke about it because you've had the albondigas, the prickly pear meatballs. That was literally what we built the menu around. So we knew we wanted the space. We just didn't know what we were going to put there. We had no idea that it was going to be an actual steakhouse. But we did know that there was a couple other restaurateurs looking at the space. So we invited the landlord, Ross Roonley, for dinner or for lunch at El Charro downtown. And we kind of just gave him a very broad spectrum of what food we were going to make. But the meatballs, while we were working there one day, Carlotta sent for albondigas soup. She wasn't feeling well, and she just wanted the broth. She's like, "Here, me home, just you can have these." So I went in the back and just put barbecue sauce on them, and I was eating them. And Ray's like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "Dude, you got to try these." And that was the first menu item. So and we joke about it. That and the pork chop is the reason that we have Charro Steak, which is the funniest thing ever. Yeah.
So tell me, so open up this restaurant, and you have this icon, with Carlotta, who has been, now over 50 years of running El Charro, well known across the globe for what she does in the Mexican cuisine, and that clearly influences what you're doing at Charro Steak.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And what's that like working with? You got to work with, with Sam, with Bob, all these iconic names, but in the kitchen,
she's a force.
Yeah, you've got someone who is just hands-on in the kitchen for 50 years that really is dominant.
She's still involved on daily stuff. I mean, obviously, it was amazing working with her every day in the kitchen, and just her attention to detail, and and her strive for tradition and make sure that everything was correct. Really resonated with me as a chef, and growing up here in Tucson, and getting to learn different regional cuisine from the state of Mexico and all that stuff has just been awesome.
Yeah.
So learning from her is just, her and Raymond are just a force. I don't know. There's a lot of, a bunch of my chef friends, you're going to go work at El Charro. And I was like, you guys don't even you don't even know.
Yeah. The depth of skill to create something as unique as they do is really interesting.
Yeah.
I know, just off topic, I had talked with, I don't know if you remember Dee from Sine Thai, and she had the same challenge. Like, chefs did not want to come work for her because it's a Thai food restaurant, and then she would go into the complexity of it, and then they couldn't hang.
Right.
So it was a little bit different with that. And I want to talk about the brands and kind of how you've grown, because there's a lot of really amazing things in downtown, and I will say that from an outside perspective, there is this. It feels like you are part of the Flores family. The way it looks on. I mean, they have so much respect for you, and you can see it shifting back. And I saw it recently in a post that I completely had missed the headline, but you were in rehab, and Ray had posted something with you really struggling, a video of you really just walking, and the emotions that he put forth in that post it was just amazing. You were like a brother to him, and the way that came out. But do you mind sharing a little bit about what happened and how we got to that point?
Yeah, it's funny you say that. Ray always says we fight like brothers because we are. So I think that's a good sign of any business relationship.
You fight.
You have to be able to let it all out, and
then get back to work afterwards.
And get back to work and make sure that we're taking care of the guests, because that's the main focus of everything. So, January 9th, the fateful day. I woke up. It was regular Friday. Got ready for work. Took a shower. My wife jokes that this is why it happened, but it's not, or not jokes. She obviously, being in the kitchen for 32 years or whatever, you have creaks and your back and neck hurt, and you have arthritis in your hands and whatnot. She's like, "Hey, I found these new stretches for you. Try them out." So I did the routine, jumped in the shower, was getting ready for work, and felt like my leg was asleep. Like, I was just like weird, but it went away. And she was like, "You all right?" And I was like, "Yeah, it's just a little tingly. I don't know. It's kind of strange." And she's like, "Okay, well, I love you." So, payroll day, drove from my house to our corporate office, which is on 18th Street, and got out of the car, no problems. I'm talking to our HR director and just catching up, and my foot, like my ankles, like feel like they're just like swollen, but they're not. It's like the weirdest. It's hard to explain to anybody how it feels, but she's like, "You okay?" And I was like, "I don't know. Amber made me do these exercises, and my legs
stretches. It's those stretches."
And she's like, "Okay." So I was like, "All right, well, have a good weekend." Whatever. I was leaving. And we have this like bank of like 6 or 7. They're pretty steep steps that go up to our office door, and I got down to the bottom step, and my left leg just went completely out from underneath me, and I was like, "Whoa!" And I caught myself. So that was weird. Just not thinking anything of it, and you can ask anybody in the industry, or I guess basically all men typically don't really take care of themselves until it's not like abundantly obvious that something's wrong. So I drove to the restaurant. By the time I got to the restaurant, I felt like I was like in like a wetsuit that was wet, but it was like 3 sizes too small.
Oh, wow.
Couldn't breathe. I was like, shit, I'm having a heart attack. I'm sorry. I'm having a heart attack. Drove myself to Banner from Charro Steak.
Drove yourself. Drove yourself. I can't make it down the stairs, but hey, I drive across.
At that point, my right leg was working.
That's all I need is one leg.
One leg, right. And called Amber. I'm like, I don't know what's going on. I'm driving to Banner. I just feel like I can't breathe. My legs are all weird. She's at work, freaking out. By the time I get to Banner, I can't. I'm completely paralyzed from my chest down.
Oh my God.
I can't move. I can't do anything. I pull it. She's watching me on her like Life 360 app. She's like, just park the car. Just like honk the horn. Like I was trying to find a parking space. She's like, just pull up front. Finally, a security guard comes out. He's like, what's wrong? And I was like, I can't walk. Like, I don't know. I need a wheelchair or something.
Gosh.
So it takes two of those guys to pull me out of the car. They go and park it. Emergency CT scan, emergency MRI, nothing. At one point, they thought I was like faking to get like drugs. And I was just like, by that time, my wife got there. And we sat in the hallway of Banner for 18 hours. Until they got me a room. And then I was up in the room. A second MRI and a second CT scan still showed nothing. And they were just like, we don't know what's wrong with you. Like, obviously I couldn't move my legs. The only way I could get around is if I was assisted. And on the third or fourth day, a friend of ours, she owns Rescue Me Wellness here in town. She actually works, she's one of Ray's business partners. We get a hold of her, and at this point they've done spinal tap. They've taken an enormous amount of fluids. They're just like, we can't figure out what's wrong with you. So they designated it a stroke. Isolated to my T5 vertebrae. Basically, there was so much inflammation in there that it just cut off all the spinal cord fluid from that region, and just everything below it just went completely numb. So, come to find out, because of that, I got myelitis, transverse myelitis, which is like acute swelling of the spinal cord. So they put me on a round of steroids, and I was there for a week, and they're like, there's no diagnosis for this. We have nothing to give you. So they shipped me off to rehab, and they were like, the best thing you can do is learn how to walk again. So I was in inpatient rehab for 8 weeks. And, I got there pretty late the night that I got transferred. And they came in and they do like a intake evaluation. And you have this whiteboard, and it has all your information on it. And and then it's like, what are your goals? And I was like, oh, I'm going to walk out of here. And they're like, okay.
So you're completely paralyzed.
Completely paralyzed.
You're in a wheelchair. They're helping up and down. And you're like, I'm going to walk out of here.
Mm-hmm. And then they were like, okay. So, and it was intense. It was 3 hours a day, 5 days a week in the gym. I don't know if you go to the gym. I barely make it an hour a week now or before. But it was intense, and it was, a lot of, what happens is when, anytime there's a spinal cord, injury, you lose proprioception, which is like it's kind of like your equilibrium.
Okay.
So like right now I'm sitting here, but it feels like I'm on a boat because I'm just like,
wow.
I completely don't have like my wherewithal. They still don't know why I can walk, but I still have no feeling in my legs. Like it's the weird, like they're just like, we have no idea how you're walking. So it's just complete will at this point.
Yeah. So when you I think this was posted a couple of months ago, and you were walking, and then I was, like you're back.
Kind of.
I mean, I know you have a cane that you're walking with, but like you got your Charro Steak shirt on. You're sort of back in the force. I mean, maybe not 100%, but you're working.
Here and there. I can get about 4 hours a day before I just completely crap out. And then depending on how hard I go, I'm usually dead the next day. My legs just won't work.
Yeah.
But
you can't stay away.
Right? I mean, what are you going to do? The show must go on. So.
Oh my goodness gracious! Well, it was impressive. It was, first of all, I was surprised because I hadn't heard anything, and I usually, at least hear.
Yeah, we kept it pretty quiet. We didn't really want to, like, I don't know. We we always like to keep everything as close to
Sure. No, I get
just
it.
as possible.
Especially when you have no idea what's happening.
Exactly. We had no diagnosis. We had no idea how long it was going to be.
Flooded with a bunch of calls of how you doing, what's going on.
And it was,
don't know.
as soon as the news aired, it was just like insane. And I mean, people in the inner circle, there was just like people were reaching out all the time. Like, hey, we want to do a story. We want to do something for you. Can you do this? Can I do that? And, that's almost more exhausting than just laying in bed, So, but I appreciate it. Everyone's well wishes. And I mean, the amount of support I've had, and, we always say it takes a village, and I couldn't have done it without my people. So,
yeah. Well, the flip side of this is again that you get to see you're not just a number or a person in an organization. You are
100%.
part of it.
Mm-hmm.
It seems it's not like they've kicked you out of the
no, I mean,
operations.
I couldn't be more grateful for the family and, Ray and Carlotta's support. I mean, really everybody at Flores Concepts. I mean, they've just been absolutely amazing, and I don't even know.
Well, Flores Concepts, let's kind of finish up as we wrap this up
absolutely.
here. I mean, let's talk about that, because this is something that it's really remarkable when you talk about Monica Flynn, over 100 years ago, scraping together pennies and working with the Chinese grocery stores to get enough ingredients to put together a meal. And now you've got this really dynasty, this behemoth of Flores Concepts that's really spreading all kinds of different venues and concepts. And even in downtown, you guys are dominant down here, but what's going on?
So I mean, so you say Monica, that's probably the biggest divergent of our concepts that could possibly think El Charro would be. So, it was this open air concept, and obviously City Park was going to be this huge food hall, with 16 to 18 vendors, and upstairs was the bar. There's still the bowling alley infrastructure up there, and
the bowling alley infrastructure's there.
Yeah,
I did not know that.
Yeah, they just built over it.
Oh,
because it was all concrete, so they had to build the lanes.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, so it's fun, fun little fact. And it got whittled down, and I think, thank God that it got whittled down, because I'm not sure Tucson would have actually understood the food hall and been able to support it as much as we would wanted it to be. Mm-hmm. They probably would have understood the nightlife and the bar, but it takes a lot. And then you put 16 different operators in a room, they're going to have differences of opinions on how stuff's ran, and so. But Monica's amazing, and it's just been so well received, and I think it's a nice little hood ornament for downtown right there. So,
well, it really pleases a lot of different tastes. You can go in there and find a lot of different things that you like, and the atmosphere. You got the outdoor, and of course you got the beautiful Joe Pagic mural right there on the wall. So, and it's right next door to our studio, so I get to hang out there a lot and enjoy that. But that's kicking it downtown. You've got Charro Steak, Charro Del Rey. Mm-hmm. Those are. They're kind of like one at this point, aren't they?
They're one at this point.
Yeah.
They were separate LLCs pre-COVID, and then we struggled really bad with it, where we're going to keep it when we reopened. And then we were like, well, we don't know who would go next to us. Like, we don't want a Chinese restaurant or whatever it would be. We can't control who our neighbors are going to be. Like, let's not do that. Let's make it work. So we kind of took the top 40, made the menu, and made it work. Yeah. The interesting part about Del Rey that a lot of people don't understand is it was a sandwich shop for a quick minute, and they spent a lot of money on the build out. There's a two for, like, you buy one and they give one to Chang kind of concept even
or something.
Even
Stevens, yeah.
I mean, they had to apply to the Historical Society to put that little patio in, which is zero function. They cut the holes in the walls because that was two separate pads. So they cut each one of those archways.
So where your bar is in the restaurant? Oh, okay.
Those were two. So there was an interior decorator and then the shoe shop. But each one of those was like $150,000 to put those stupid arches in. It's just crazy. So, but it was they complement each other. You know, we have guests that love to sit in Delray because it's kind of quiet and romantic, and then we have guests that just love to sit in Charro Steak because it's smoky and it's a steakhouse, and you know, you really feel it in there. So I think we really captured kind of the best of both worlds with that building. Yeah,
and I know as this is airing, it's going to be mid-July, and you're, if I'm putting you on the spot and this isn't happening, let me know. But usually you have the Christmas in July going on.
We will have Christmas in July this year. Yeah, so the 24th and 25th of July. Buy one get one gift cards.
There you go. It's kind of hard to beat that.
Yeah.
With the we're way we've talked about so many different things here, but this idea of downtown and restaurants. Tucson is known now for great restaurants all over. You know, and now Charro Steak, you've got a Northwest location. You know, you got different Charro cafes. What the challenges of downtown, right? Is that different, like operating a steakhouse in downtown versus on Oracle?
Yeah, I mean, everything from having deliveries on time for, you know, trash pickup, oil disposal, and, you know, obviously parking.
So your diners like to park?
Yeah, they like to come down and, you know, be able to, you know, get out of their car and come in and eat. So we were very fortunate that we have the parking lot next to Delray, that the landlord, you know, I mean, we don't get it for free. It's in rent, but so we have that, and we're very fortunate. That's only 20 spots. So, you know, we seat almost 250 people. So, you know, on a full night, it's hard. You know, the AC Marriott was supposed to be an affordable option. It's not. The guys across the street are charging $26 on a Friday night to park over there. Like all the private parking is kind of crazy. So I gotta really give it to Park Tucson, because they could just jack it up and just be like, oh, so, you know, it's $12 a park down here, and it's just like Phoenix, but we're not Phoenix. We're definitely not. So, you know, it's $11 to park across the street in that private lot for lunch. So you got 4 people. You know, it's $44 to just park. Yeah. If you're not carpooling, you know, the streetcar is great. I always tell people, park at the Mercado and make a night of it. Yeah. Yeah. But, you know, we're very fortunate. We have a stop right in front of Monica, and we have a stop right in front of Charro Steak. So,
and I've seen, you know, the garages, part of it's, I think, education, because the garages are $5 or $6. Yeah. You know, it's something that we've been working with the gallery, because obviously, you know, we want people to come down and enjoy, and metered spaces. Overall, from a city, we're very inexpensive for parking there. But I don't want to get too far off the field there. But but the nice thing is you do have some dedicated places, which gives you a huge leg up on this. What's on the horizon, though? Anything that you can share with us that's coming out? You guys going to be taking over some other spot and open up a disco or something?
You know, we don't. Opportunities come up. Ray jumps on them. He's the land guy. You know, he always says, you know, you guys do food, I'll take care of the leases. But he's always involved with food. So, you know, if the opportunity comes, unfortunately, you know, we were looking at a spot in Phoenix, and then I got injured, and we had to walk away from it.
Darn stretches.
I know, darn stretches. So,
and one last thing, I guess, just to really touch on, and I didn't realize your history. And that might explain it, but your impact on community with some of the organizations that you support at a high level. And I know you've had some youth groups at Charro Steak doing almost like camps of some sort.
Yeah.
It's really nice to see that.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I mean, you got to give it back, right? You can't take it with you. There's no U-Hauls at the cemetery, right? So, you know, giving back to the community, and I think that's one of the biggest things that I've learned from the family, working with them for the past 10, 11 years, is, you know, the community supports us, and, you know, everyone's like, oh, you guys are opening another restaurant, how are you going to do it? Or, you know, you're just stealing from yourselves. But the community, really, they come out and they just love to support us. They love to give us feedback. Some of it good, some of it opinions. But, you know, we listen and we adapt, and we always try to make sure that our community's at the foremost. You know, we take care of our guests, and our guests are the community. So,
well, I think that's a great place to end it. And I really appreciate you spending some time with us. This is going to be a a really fun episode. I think that you are well known within this industry and within this community for many things that go beyond the kitchen. We haven't even talked about like. There's so much we could talk about. Knife. Never mind. We're not going to go there. So my guest today has been Gary Hickey with many different concepts, and but primarily known for his role there with Charro Steak and Charro Del Rey. Been fascinating. Really appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me.
I hope you tune in every Sunday for another episode here of Life Along the Streetcar as we cover those things happening within our urban core from A Mountain to the University of Arizona. Each week we open our show and close our show with music brought to you by Ryan Hood, and we appreciate their support in letting us use their song Dillinger Days. This doesn't happen without James Portis, the executive producer who puts all of this together behind the scenes. My name is Tom Heath. I'm your host. It's a privilege to sit down with these amazing people here making things happen in Tucson. And please tune in every Sunday for another episode. Until next time, stay curious, Tucson.